Washington, D.C., taking over federalizing the D.C. Metropolitan Police Department and asking the National Guard and other federal law enforcement agencies to go out into the streets and work alongside police, saying that it's a critical situation with crime, and on a secondary note, saying that the city has become ugly and scarred by the results of recent years of rioting and protesting, and he wants that cleaned up as well, kind of saying that the capital, Washington, D.C., is the front door of the United States of America. Let me bring into this conversation our good friend Willie Ng, who, of course, worked for the United States Secret Service and the SAPD, worked with the Bexar County DA's office, ran for Bexar County Sheriff against Javier Salazar, owns his own security company, which is a multi-level comprehensive security company called Blue Armor Security, and he's on our KTSA Quarter Moon Plumbing, AC, Heating Newsmaker line. Willie, thanks for coming on right after this, and what is your reaction to what the president's doing?
I mean, I don't see why he's getting any pushback on it. Look, the people are always caught up into percentages, and when you hear crime is being reduced from one year to the next, that does not correlate to a safer neighborhood, or I should say safe neighborhood, or safe city, or safe state. In 2023, they had the most homicides, 274 homicides since 1997, the most. And they were rated as one of the highest crime places in the nation. So, yes, just because you're coming down percentage from one year to the next does not mean you become complacent and don't welcome other resources to collaborate with to reduce crime even more.
What is your sense of rank and file law enforcement? Will they welcome this?
I don't know at this point right now. I know there's protests going on right now at the doorsteps of the White House. The mayor, I'm not sure. I mean, she's claiming that, the mayor's claiming that, hey, look, the crime rate keeps coming down. So it sounds like indirect, the mayor is not saying it's not necessary, which I find quite interesting. You and I have had these conversations, Jack, over and over again. We've always said, don't mix politics with public safety, and I think that's what's happening here. Those very same people that are against this welcomed after January 6th the National Guard. They welcomed a wall being placed around the Capitol to keep them safe while they go to and from work. But those also are the same people that are not welcoming the National Guard at our border to protect our nation, not wanting the wall to go around. So we say this over and over again. We have got to stop playing politics, public safety.
I guess I agree with you totally, but I do wonder how this works on a practical level. Like one day you're patrolling the neighborhood with the police officers that are on that beat or drive that route. The next day you've got National Guardsmen or Secret Service or Park Police. Do they play well together, or how does that work?
I think that logistically, on the logistics of it, they need to pump the brakes and sit down and say, how do we collaborate on this? I think it's a great idea. I don't think there's anything wrong with bringing in other resources, but I do agree that the pumping the brakes on the logistics to figure out, okay, who has the authority, who has rights, the legal rights to implement and enforce some of these laws. That is going to have to be a detailed conversation before they execute this. But I think the resource and the idea of bringing those federal resources to the table is not a bad idea at all.
Mm-hmm. And the other piece of this, we heard the U.S. Attorney Jeanine Pirro say the laws are weak. I can pick these people up, but they get turned right back out on the street. What about that?
I think there's some truth to that. I mean, we've experienced it here in Bexar County. When the DA says he's not going to enforce criminal trespass if you're homeless. If you have a home and you're criminal trespassing, you're going to jail. But if you are homeless and don't have a home and you're criminal trespassing, you're not going to jail. Or I'm not going to prosecute you, I should say. So I think that there's issues with that. I think there is some truth to that. Our district attorneys are playing politics. They've removed the blindfold off of Lady Justice and determines, okay, who's committing this crime, and based on who it is, then we'll decide how there's going to be a punishment. This is the thing, too, also, people need to remember on the percentage of crime, the crime rates and everything else. That's reported crime. That's reported crime.
Mm-hmm.
So if we have a lack of trust, within our community, saying they don't trust the police, why call them? They're not going to do anything anyway. Well, then we have unreported crime that's not part of this data. So we've got to consider that as well.
And Willie, what about you mentioned the mayor, and I know she has said over the weekend these claims are hyperbolic and false. It's not a war-torn city, she says. I guess I just wonder, why not take the W? I mean, if you're the mayor and crime goes down and people feel safer or are safer, can't you just take some credit for that instead of looking like you want to go on the record against it? I mean, this is one of those 80-20 issues that it makes no sense to take the 20 on.
I agree with you. It's a political soundbite. You know, I agree. If I was the mayor, if I was her, I would welcome it. I would say, yes, we've dropped percentage from 2023 when we were the highest nation, but I want to drop even more. That is collaborating with federal agencies is what we need to make this place safer and get our economic development to improve, because people are going to want to develop and want to move to DC because it's so safe, because of all the initiatives we took. That's what she should be doing, not pushing against it or indirectly saying we don't need it, we're safe now.
Willie Ng, his company is Blue Armor Security. Willie, always appreciate your time jumping on with us. Thank you today.
Thank you, Jack.